The $130,000 trap. Why your monthly car payment is destroying your future wealth. We've all seen it. You're driving to work, maybe in a car that's a few years old, and then this massive leather interior monster pulls up next to you. A gleaming black truck, sparkling chrome, a roaring engine. It costs more than some people's houses. And for a second, you start thinking, what do they do for a living? How can they afford that? Here's the secret the driver and the dealership do not want you to know. They probably cannot afford it. In fact, that driver might be making the exact same salary as you. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a system designed to keep you broke while making you look rich. We're talking about the $130,000 trap. It's a cycle of automotive Stockholm syndrome that quietly steals your retirement, your vacations, and your peace of mind. If you want to know how to stop being a slave to your driveway, stay with me. This is the math they did not teach you in school. Let's look at the numbers, because honestly, they are terrifying. A decade ago, a $700 monthly car payment felt outrageous. That was Ferrari territory. Today, $700 a month is about average for a regular new car. And if you want a truck or a large SUV, you could easily be looking at $900, $1,200, or even more every single month. So how do regular people, teachers, nurses, office workers, sign up for payments like that? Simple. The industry moved the goalposts. They stopped asking, how much does this car cost? And they started asking, how much can you pay per month? That one change reshaped everything. To make an $80,000 truck look affordable, lenders stretched the loans out to 6, 7, even 8 years. And yes, there are now 10-year car loans. That is basically a financial horror movie. Because when you spread the debt over 96 months, that terrifying payment of $1,500 suddenly drops to something that feels more manageable, maybe $900 a month. But that lower monthly payment is an illusion, because while the monthly number goes down, the total cost explodes. You end up paying thousands of extra dollars just for the privilege of making the payment feel smaller. In other words, you are borrowing from your 65-year-old self just to look cool at 30. And that is where the trap begins. But the loan is only the beginning. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Because this is where the $130,000 trap really snaps shut. Most people look at the monthly payment. What they forget are the ongoing costs. So let's run the real-world math on a typical $55,000 truck with a 7-year loan. First, the loan itself. At 6% interest, you're looking at roughly $800 a month. Over 7 years, that adds up to about $67,000. Now add insurance. Insuring a $60,000 machine is not cheap. You could easily be paying around $250 a month. Over the life of that loan, that's another $21,000 gone. Then there's fuel. If you're getting 15 miles per gallon, you could easily be spending $350 at the pump. Over 7 years, that's another $29,000 gone. And then maintenance. Modern trucks are complicated. Tires are expensive. Brakes are expensive. Repairs are expensive. Even routine maintenance plus the occasional big repair bill can easily total $15,000 over 7 years. Now add all of that together. The loan, the insurance, the fuel, the maintenance. And suddenly you have spent more than $130,000 in 7 years. $130,000. And here's the kicker. At the end of that journey, you own a vehicle that might be worth $15,000 if you're lucky. Think about that. You just spent $130,000 to end up with a $15,000 asset. That is not transportation. That is wealth destruction with cup holders. So why do we do this to ourselves? Why do smart, hardworking people walk straight into a trap like this? Because the auto industry isn't really selling transportation. They're selling identity. They're selling emotion. They're selling lifestyle. That truck commercial with the mountain road and the dramatic music, it's not selling you a way to get from point A to point B. It's selling you the fantasy that you are powerful, adventurous, rugged, successful, even if the closest you ever get to off-roading is parking on the grass at a county fair. And the most dangerous part is this: we have normalized these payments. If your friend told you they were spending $1,200 a month on coffee, you would stage an intervention immediately. But if they spend $1,200 a month on a truck payment, people nod and say, well, you need reliable transportation. No, that is not normal. That is not reasonable. That is financial conditioning. We have reached a point where millions of people are living in automotive indentured servitude. I've seen people move into smaller apartments, eat cheap food for dinner, skip vacations, and even take on second jobs just to support a vehicle that eats up 30% of their income. Think about how crazy that is. They're working for their car instead of the car working for them. And that's exactly how the trap keeps people stuck. Now, let's talk about the better way, because I'm not saying you should never own a nice car. That's not the point. The point is understanding opportunity cost. What are you giving up in exchange for that shiny vehicle in the driveway? Imagine that instead of falling into the $130,000 trap, you drove a reliable used car and invested that $800 a month into a simple index fund. Just $800 a month over 7 years at an 8% annual return, you would end up with more than $70,000. Not a depreciating machine, not a pile of debt, not a payment hanging over your head every month. $70,000 in invested wealth. That money could become the foundation of your retirement, or a down payment on a house, or the emergency fund that gives you the freedom to walk away from a job you hate. That's real financial power, not an oversized truck with heated seats. So what's the way out? It's simple, but it's not easy, because it requires ignoring the Joneses. First, stop the cycle. If you're trapped in negative equity, where you owe more than the car is worth, don't roll that balance into a new loan. That's a financial hamster wheel, and the only one winning on that wheel is the dealer. Second, redefine status. Real success is not a monthly payment you can barely survive. Real success is freedom. Freedom is cash in the bank. Freedom is options. Freedom is being able to quit a bad job, handle an emergency, or invest in your future without panic. That's real status. And third, appreciate the beater. That reliable used car in your driveway may not have the newest tech, the giant touchscreen, or the luxury badge, but it may be doing something far more important. It may be quietly helping you build real wealth, and that matters more than impressing strangers at a stoplight. So next time you see that gleaming monster truck on the highway, don't be jealous. Remember this: the driver might be frantically searching their couch cushions for gas money while their future wealth disappears into a 7-year loan. You deserve better than a transportation fantasy. You deserve a real future. If this breakdown helped you see the math differently, hit that subscribe button. We're here to help you keep more of your money so you can build a life you don't need to drive away from. Drive safe and drive debt-free. See you in the next one.